Hello, my name is Jasmine Lee, and I am not your mama's astrologer. I usually come in with vibes, guys. I usually come in with loads to say, and I don't know if it's the energy. I guess, Leo season in a Taurus moon. I'm in like my cozy era this day, and I didn't come to the table with a lot to say. So we're just gonna jam out verbally. We'll see how that goes. I think that this weekend, I don't know if it was so for you, but there was an exhale. I felt the exhale of a couple of weeks of a lot. And this weekend felt like my body needed rest and it needed quiet. And probably also why coming in this Monday, there isn't as much for me to say, but I'm sure I'll figure out something. I'm a world-class chit chatter. So what I do want to talk about is we have some things on deck. So this week I like to think of as a prep week, as a week to harness the clues of what the energy is giving us, showing us, wanting from us. So what we have on the horizon is a Mercury retrograde. We're now in Mercury retrograde's shadow. So we kind of start to feel into what the flavor of our own individual Mercury retrograde is going to be. This is kind of a unique Mercury retrograde. I really like Mercury in Virgo. Mercury in Virgo strives for clarity, it strives for excellence, it strives to be of service, and it strives to clean house inside in your brain, like some mental scrub-a-dub-dubbing. And I love that for us because I think that when things enter Virgo, it's a time to get back into integrity. So whatever reins you have loosened, it's time to tighten them up, like get your bootstraps on, all of that good stuff. But then the clincher is when Mercury goes retrograde and it's in Virgo. I think that this is a dynamic meeting because I think that when Mercury's going back, it's a retrospective. And so in Virgo, we are looking at how we could do it better. Where in our life, particularly in our thoughts, are we needing some restoration? And that's how I like to look at this Mercury retrograde this season, this time around, you guys, is as a time of restoration. We are restoring something that is old news, like something that needs to be touched up. I think of the beautiful painting restorers who come and make something beautiful again that has faded, that has been worn. We're just a bunch of worn ass bitches coming to the end of summer and we're just needing some more integrity, some more restoration. So I kind of want that to be in the back of your mind this week. What can I restore inside of myself? What old habits, what old routines, thought patterns are up for review? Because that's what Mercury retrograde is. People really fear Mercury retrograde because they say that it is our things break, nothing works out. And I just don't look at it that way because I look at it as this thing was about to break and now it's broke. This thing was on the edge of something and now it's over the edge. And so if we approach a Mercury retrograde as, oh, this is stuff that needs to get cleaned up. Do you hear that? That is my cat. That's my cat. He really enjoys making a fuss when my partner is outside doing gardening. So live action, we're gonna put him in a different little home and ask him to please be quiet and to not do that. I don't know if that's gonna work, you guys. But anyway, so here we are in Mercury retrograde's shadow. My cat is going to meow during the podcast. He's going to be annoying. How do you cope with that? How do you deal with intrinsic roadblocks, things that get in the way of what you're trying to say? Because Mercury is our brain. Mercury wants us to think different, do different, be different. So what is the medicine for that? I'm going to take us. For me, the medicine is I go into a room where the door closes and alas, I don't have to hear his whiny bitching. So here, we're already in the mix, aren't we, of Mercury retrograde? How do we, instead of look at the problem, we think, how can I find the solution? Okay, and here we are. We did it. We found a solution. Hello, welcome back. To those of you that are just listening, I made everybody who's just watching dizzy because I moved about the house. Okay, so let's get back into it. Mercury retrograde is the time of restoration in our lives. What do we need restoring? What inside of ourselves is like old news? Because I think that we see expiration dates on food and we know when to throw them out. But what about expiration dates on our souls, on ourselves, on, preconditioning or processes that really super don't work anymore, that are expired? Or if not expired, need revision. So a lot of the energy that's happening right now is in mutable signs too. And so being able to predict is going to be hard over the next few weeks. Predicting the flavor of what we're being shown is going to be loosey-goosey, and it's going to require a lot of our flexibility. Because it's been a hard, intense time, I don't want to lie to y'all and say that we're over the worst of it, because the next 2 weeks after this week, we get into some really rocky terrain in the astrological realm. That's not to say that that's going to happen to us personally, but globally and collectively, there might be a lot going on that we're going to have to duck and dodge through, and maybe personally too. So I never say these things to scare anybody. I never say them to make them something that we need to fear or something that we need to hate or be like, ugh, even though I'm not going to lie to you, there was a slight ugh when I look at the impending astrology. But I really think that Leo season is a spotlight. It really is. And we get to choose what we're shining our spotlights on. And I choose, and I invite you to choose, a word, which is empowerment. That now is a time where we need to feel more empowered, where when we feel like something is getting taken for us, when Mercury retrograde takes, how do we empower ourselves to get the power back, to reframe the scenario, to restructure what it was that wasn't working in the first place? And that's the point of a Mercury retrograde. Here's the other dope ass stuff that's happening though, is that during the Mercury retrograde, on Sunday, we have a new moon and it's in Leo. So it's this double Leo vibey stuff. So wherever Leo falls in your chart is where that is all going to be being activated. And double Leo is so great. It's such big energy. It's optimism. It's first kisses, you guys. It rules the house of children and drama and theater and how we're being seen and how we're loving. And it's a very warm energy ruled by the sun. So it is this invitation to be the excessive version of yourself. It is an invitation to be bold, to be loud, to be seen. And then here comes Mercury retrograde in Virgo, asking us, how can we do this with excellence? How can we do this better? How can we reinvent our own proverbial wheels? And then Venus too is in Virgo. So I love this for us because Venus is trying to soften the edges, at least the first little bit of Mercury retrograde. Venus is saying, how do we do this with our whole heart? How do we embrace whatever is going on with our whole heart? Because that is why we're here. Don't you think? That's what I think. I think we're all here to expand our heart space, to expand our thought space, to expand in general. And Leo season is such an excellent time for that expansion because it asks us where we're being seen in space and time. And how do you want to be seen? It's like an exercise to go home and think about, how have I been seen? How am I currently being seen? And how do I want to be seen? And are all of these things aligning? And if they're not, where are the moments, the things, the parts of ourselves that don't feel aligned with our highest, most sunniest Leo versions of ourselves? And the answer is always, where are you disempowered? Where in your life do you not have control? Where is the spaces of heart that don't get recognized? Because Leo really needs to be recognized on a fundamental level. It's not like it needs to necessarily be in a big way. It's more, I think, of the love languages. Like, are you being loved and respected in the way that makes sense for who your truest version is? And how do you do that for others? So here's the medicine. Big medicine of this week is, how can we show gratitude and love? How do we be the change we wish to see in the world? If you want to be loved and to be seen, then the best thing you can do is to love and see everybody else around you. And what good medicine, because you're seeing yourself through that love, through how you're loving other people. And this can set us up so great for the next little bit of astrology. Is there's so much, political times too, I think, bring up a really hard edge to the human consciousness, to our human nature, to who we're trying to be. I don't think anybody is trying to be a big dick. All right. Maybe some. Can't speak for all. But I don't think the generalized version of humaning in this world, we're trying to be dicks to each other. I think that a lot of us are struggling. I think that a lot of us don't see eye to eye. And I think that a lot of us are opinionated. And Leo season brings that up for sure. But what else Leo season brings up is reconciliation, is empowerment, is courage, is seeing yourself as a bright, new, shiny thing. Sometimes I think our world rides us hard and puts us away wet. And that we're not always the most fulfilled versions of ourselves because there's a lack of participation in the collective love that is available at all times to us all the time. But we don't see that because I think we get really bogged down by our own id complexes, by our own, oh God, did I just say that? Or our own fears around what would happen if we were the actualized versions of ourselves and what that would mean for us going forward. Like, if our authentic self led the way all the time, who wouldn't stick around for it? And the fear of loss and the fear in our attachment-based realities sometimes take over. And I think that Leo season is a really deep time to step into self, to unabashedly give yourself the cookie that I talk about every podcast, because we all need a cookie at the end of a hard day, proverbial or literal, your choice. And we are the cookie. The lesson this week is we are the light. We are the sun in our world. We are the thing that is shining a light on what is next. It is no one else. It is nothing else that can give us what we need more than ourselves. But we have to get honest. We have to get authentic. We have to get down to the courageous part of ourself that wants to ask, who am I now? Who do I want to be 5 years from now? Am I aligning myself to do those things, to be that person, to step into my highest integrity? And that's a tough question to ask, because I don't know about you, but I am not always my most integral self, especially if there's pain, especially if there's drama, especially if there's politics, especially if there's some bullshit going on that I don't want to ascribe to, that I don't want to deal with. So what I see in the astrology is there's going to be some shit, guys, like some stuff that maybe you don't want to deal with. Mercury retrograde is really great at that. It's giving us the thing that we're like, ugh, I don't want to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to do this, but you have to. And so how do you embrace the notion that everything you're doing is a choice, that every resistance is information about you? Like, why are you resisting this here or that over there? Why is there resistance when you're calling your mom? Why is there resistance to make dinner every day? What is the resistance? Why is it there? It's like becoming a truer version of yourself when you're actually curious about your flaws, or you're curious about the mistakes you made, or the oops that is impending due to Mercury retrograde. It's really empowering when you say, shit's gonna go down. Stuff is gonna happen. I'm not always gonna be operating under the highest level of self. But what I really love about Leo energy is that Leo can say sorry, because Leo knows that they're drama. Leo knows that they're attention beasts. Leo knows that if they aren't, if they're the shy kind of Leos, that they're hiding something inside of themselves that then they perpetually get bothered by because they don't feel seen by the collective. And Leo wants to be seen. So whatever we're hiding, whatever is not being seen that's like whispering at us is maybe gonna like pump up the volume this week. Maybe it's gonna be more of a yell instead of a whisper. Maybe where and in what arena we're needing to show ourselves is gonna get a little push, like push you into the deep end and see if you can swim, and be like, good luck to you, happy trails, in the hopes that we embrace and interact with our courageous selves. That's what Leo wants, is us to put away the fear that the very truest versions of ourselves is not going to be loved, or will not be seen or interpreted the way that we hope. And the truth is that life is just a bunch of interpretations. The truth is that everybody else is coming from a different lifestyle, thought pattern, and interpretation of the world, where, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't anyway. So you might as well do it. You might as well be it. You might as well feel it. And you might as well embrace what it is that is wanting to be seen this cycle. Because what wants to be seen is the next step in your life. It is the next version. It is the next aha moment just waiting to happen, but you have to engage with it. You have to interact with it. And I pulled the card, I love it, Milk and Honey. Because Venus is here, bitches. Because Venus is up in this Mercury retrograde being like, but where's the love? But where is the compassion? But where is the kindness? But where is the understanding that we're all moving, bumbling through this life, and it's messy, and like, fuck that guy because he was a dick, and cool. So we did that. So how do we move forward? How do we embrace the pain? How do we embrace the renovations, the restructuring that inevitably happens during Leo season? Because Leo is different from Aries, where Aries is a fire sign and it's about the self. It's about how we're cultivating self, our own sense of self. Sagittarius is also a fire sign, and it represents how we embrace our sense of philosophy, of religion, of our belief systems, of our educational realities, how we are putting the information through. And then Leo is this beautiful fire sign that asks us, how do we interpret that? How do we take self and philosophy and turn it into our own interpretation of thought and of being and of expressing? Leo is the expression of self and of our ideologies and of our thoughts and of our being. It is the expression piece. And so it's when there's a Leo new moon, there is this opening of expression, of the desire to express, of the notion of what happens when we're being seen in these deeper recesses of self. And do you have the courage to step into who you are more fully right now? Because there's great reward when you do, because the things that are resonating stay, and the things that are not, leave. And I know that on a fundamental level, we can all be afraid of what leaves us. We can all be afraid of what says no thank you. That when we boldly step forward and try to reach out to something, if it doesn't reach back to us, the pain of that, the rejection of that. I've experienced that recently, just the rejection piece of when you reach your heart out and it doesn't get held back. And then it's like, oh shit. There's my heart on the floor. Guess I'll just scoop it up and find my courage. And that's what I want to really impart on you this week, is it is a time to empower yourself, to be courageous and bold and be seen in whatever new way you need it. Get a haircut. go on a platform and speak your truth. Whatever, your family platform. Have some new rules and regulations of how you want to be treated and why. And most importantly, the biggest piece is reciprocate it, is give it back, is whatever you are needing to be held, hold it for other people. You know, tell your people how much you love them. Be grateful for what you have. Show kindness to the people that you don't know and some forgiveness to the assholes that you do, you know? Because we're all just trying to do it, the life thing. We're all just trying to get out alive, you know, party trick, spoiler alert, none of us get out of it alive. So we have this really rare opportunity as these skin bags walking around the earth to just make life profound for ourselves, for each other, to show great compassion and courage in the face of something that questions who you are, the core, the root, whatever you're searching for. This is a time to empower that, to activate it, and then Mercury retrograde will challenge it. But if you have this foundation this week of this is where I'm going, this is what I want, this is how I am approaching it, then you'll start to see where the restoration is, where the parts of yourself that you've outgrown are resisting that, and fix that, you know? Give yourself a soul tune-up over the next few weeks. See what old adages of self aren't working anymore. And most importantly, be so kind and gentle with yourself and other people, because we're all redefining, restoring, and finding sacredness inside of ourselves. It's the only way to go. Highly recommend it. Did I tell you that there's milk and honey on the other end of that? That's what the card says, because Venus is here to tell us whatever goes awry, as long as you're doing the thing with your whole heart, you can't go wrong. That even when it feels wrong, even when it hurts, or even when things don't work out the way you planned, that that's actually the plan. And to take heart, have courage, and step more fully into yourself. And then express it, says Leo, and then express it. I hope that this week brings aha moments. I hope that you gently brush the paint strokes of your restoring self heart in a gentle, sweeping way where it can get abstract, but it creates an entire masterpiece that is you, and that no matter what, you know that you are that masterpiece that you're creating. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for listening to my cat howling and the change of scenery. And please like, follow, comment. Let me know how Leo season's treating you. Tell me where Leo is in your chart. Book me for a reading and I can tell you where Leo is in your chart, and we can chart out the month together. Until next week, guys.